Welcome. In the last session, I started discussing the characters of kingdom fungi. So in this session also, I'm going to discuss a few more characters of kingdom fungi, especially the reproduction, and then we will move on to the various classes of kingdom fungi. So let's begin with this session. So here, the members of fungi show three different modes of reproduction. So that is vegetative reproduction. They show vegetative reproduction, and they show asexual reproduction, and they also show sexual reproduction. A particular species may show all the three modes of reproduction. Now let us see this vegetative reproduction. The vegetative reproduction, it occurs by in three methods, or it occurs in three methods: fragmentation, then fission, and then budding. So these are three methods of vegetative mode of reproduction. So here, first let's see the fragmentation. So we know that the body of fungi is mycelium, so which is a network of hyphae. So when when there is a fragmentation, in the mycelium, so this is what we call a mycelial fragmentation. So here fragmentation, breakup. So the mycelium broke up into two pieces. Now this one develops into a new colony, and this one develops into a new colony. Okay, so this one develops into a new colony. So this is the mycelial fragmentation that results in the formation of new individuals. So that is the fragmentation, and is a mode of vegetative reproduction. Then coming to fission. So here fission is a process that takes place by splitting of a cell into two daughter cells. So here it is splitting of a cell into two daughter cells. So is what we call a fission. So we'll see here. Okay, so say suppose this is a cell. Okay, so once the nuclear division takes place, so we will see, okay, the splitting here, and then finally they join, and then so they become two cells. So this is what we call fission. So earlier, which I have shown mycelial fragmentation, that is different, and this is splitting of a cell into two daughter cells, which is called fission. Now in case of budding, what happens is a small protuberance develops on one side of the cell. So here on one side of the cell, a small protuberance starts developing, and then there will be nuclear division, and the nucleus will get separated, and then in course of time, so this is actually a bud. So this is a bud, and in course of time the bud starts growing in the size. So it grows in the size, and later so this bud gets separated. So this one now will develop into a new individual, and this is the parental one. So it gives off buds in this way, like how we see in case of yeast. So such mode of reproduction we see in case of yeast. So this is bud. Okay, so this is a mode of vegetative reproduction. So these fungi will undergo fragmentation, where the mycelium will break up and then develop into two or into many colonies. So depending on how many fragments it will form into. Okay, in case of fission, you will get only two daughter cells. So one cell will split up into two daughter cells, And in case of budding, a small bud, a small, okay, protuberance starts developing on the cell, and it grows in size, and even the nucleus gets multiplied and gets, given off to this bud, and then later slowly the bud will detach from the parent, and this bud will develop into a new individual. So these are three methods of vegetative reproduction. Coming to asexual and sexual mode of reproduction, so both will take place by the formation of spores. So occurs by the formation of spores takes place, right? So we'll see about asexual spores. So in asexual reproduction, so what are all the different spores that are formed here? So there will be conidia, then sporangio spores. So these are spores that are produced in actually asexual mode of reproduction. So one more I would like to mention is about zoospores, right? So these are all asexual spores: conidia, sporangiospores, and zoospores. And coming to sexual mode of reproduction, under sexual reproduction, so the spores produced are called oospores, then ascospores, and then basidiospores. So these are, okay, so three different spores that are formed in the sexual mode of reproduction. So these are different. So there is a difference between these asexual spores that are formed and also the spores which are formed in sexual mode of reproduction. And these spores are produced in distinct structures. They are produced in distinct structures which are called fruiting bodies. Okay, later when I discuss about the classes, then at the time I will again come to these points. Okay, fruiting bodies, how they are formed, and how the spores will be formed inside. So we will see when I discuss the various classes of kingdom fungi. Okay, so just I'm mentioning here a statement. So spores are produced in distinct structures and those are called fruiting bodies. So inside that, okay, fruiting bodies, we will see the formation of spores. So you have to remember separately, asexual spores are different and sexual spores are different. The asexual spores, conidia, sporangiospores, and zoospores, and sexual reproduction produces the spores, oospores, ascospores, and basidiospores. Now we will see about sexual cycle. So this sexual cycle, it includes three different steps. So sexual cycle includes three steps. Means while the fungi is undergoing sexual reproduction, it will show three steps. So what are all those three steps? So the first step will be plasmogamy. Then second step will be karyogamy, right? And the third step will be meiosis in zygote. So there will be meiosis in zygote that results in the formation of haploid spores. Okay, so this results in the formation of haploid spores. I hope you might have understood in the previous sessions that what actually the meaning of a haploid. Okay, right. Now let us see what is this plasmogamy, right? So here the plasmogamy, so the plasmogamy is a fusion of protoplasm. So the fusion of protoplasm is called plasmogamy. That you can take as the cytoplasm. Okay, so and this fusion of protoplasm is between, okay, two motile or non-motile gametes. So the fusion will take place between two motile or non-motile gametes. So here motile, which means movable. So there is a fusion between two moving gametes or between non-moving gametes can take place. So here those gametes, when they come here, okay, so these are, say suppose these are the two gametes which have come. So in some cases the gametes will not have any mobility. So then we call non-motile. So non-motile means non-movable. So which means they cannot move, whereas motile means they are movable. So motile, mobile, one and the same. Now here when these two cells come together, gametes come together, so their, okay, membrane fuses, and then you can see here the first the cytoplasm fuses. So that is what we call plasmogamy, and it is the first stage in the sexual cycle. So plasmogamy is a fusion of protoplasm between two motile or non-motile gametes. Then later there will be the fusion of nuclei. So the fusion of nuclei. So you can see here this, I will say cytoplasm, and this is nucleus, right? Now these two nuclei will merge with one another. So they come together, right? You can see the fusion, and finally they become into one nucleus. So that fusion of nuclei is what we call karyogamy. So this is the second step. So now this results in the formation of zygote. Okay, so two cells, when, I mean two gametes actually, so when they fuse together, right, it results in the formation of a zygote. So this zygote will be actually diploid in condition, and these two gametes will be haploid in condition. I hope in our previous sessions I discussed that okay, haploid we should represent with the N, and diploid we should represent with the 2N. So here N plus N, that's what it became, 2N. So these are gametes. So two gametes fused and resulted in the formation of a zygote. And now the zygote will undergo a process called meiosis. Okay, so meiosis is actually called a reductional division, where the chromosomal number will become exactly half to that of its parent. So if it is the case, of course, that's called meiosis. So I will mention meiosis is a reductional division. Okay, and I told you that if a diploid cell undergoes meiosis, it results in having the chromosomes, okay, half to that of its parent. So now the meiosis will result in the formation of, right, spores, and these spores will be haploid, and these spores will be haploid. Okay, so I'll tell you one example. So by taking, right, say it has 16, the zygote is having diploid, so this is 16 chromosomes, it is having 16 chromosomes, and then, okay, it undergoes meiosis. So it undergoes meiosis, okay, and at the end of meiosis it results in the formation of actually four haploid spores. Four haploid spores. So this all is meiosis. Okay, right? And so these cells will get here 8 and 8 chromosomal number, and all others of course will have 8. Okay, so how it is all, and okay, don't worry if you don't understand also. All this we have a separate chapter, cell cycle and division. So how the meiosis takes place and mitosis takes place. So here just as they have mentioned that the meiosis in zygote results in formation of haploid spores, I gave a little idea. So in our coming sessions we will detailedly discuss about what is this meiosis, and even one more cell division like mitosis, how it all takes place. Okay, right? So this meiosis in zygote results in the formation of haploid spores. So these are all haploid. So I told you that the meiosis will result in reducing the chromosomal number exactly half to that of its parent. You can see the parent here is the zygote that has undergone the meiosis and finally formed four, okay, daughter cells, and those four daughter cells, each of the cell have, okay, half the number of chromosomes, right? So that is the meaning of this statement: meiosis in zygote results in the formation of haploid spores, right? So I hope it's clear. We'll see a few more points. Right, so here when a fungi is undergoing sexual reproduction, so in sexual reproduction, right, so here two haploid hyphae, so there will be two haploid hyphae of compatible mating type. So two haploid hyphae of a compatible mating type, they fuse. So here I'll show, okay. Right. Say suppose these two are compatible mating type. So two hyphae of compatible mating type. So when they, okay, come together, then the, right, so there will be the plasmogamy. So you can see here the plasmogamy taking place. We know the sexual cycle will involve the three steps. The first step is plasmogamy. So here the first step is plasmogamy. So once the plasmogamy is completed, okay, the next stage will be karyogamy. Now here in some fungi, the plasmogamy is immediately followed by karyogamy. So once the plasmogamy is completed, then immediately it proceeds to the karyogamy, where there will be fusion of these two nuclei. But in some fungi, what happens is there will be no fusion of these two nuclei for some time. Okay, so these two nuclei will remain separate for a period of time. So now when these two nuclei remain separate for a period of time, so the condition is called dikaryon. The condition is called dikaryon. So here this is a dikaryotic stage. So here di, which means two, and karyos means, okay, nucleus. So the two nuclei will not fuse immediately in, okay, some fungi. So here in some, the plasmogamy will be immediately followed by karyomagamy. Okay, so that will result in the formation of a zygote. Okay, so once the plasmogamy is completed, karyogamy is completed, then it results in the formation of a zygote. Okay, after that the zygote will undergo meiosis that we have seen. Okay, but in some fungi a dikaryotic stage will be seen, and the phase is called dikaryotic phase. It's a dikaryotic phase. So once this is completed, so it will remain for a period of time the two nuclei separately, and then later they fuse and then become into one. That results in the formation of a, okay, zygote. It results in the formation of a zygote. Okay, so now this one is diploid, and then, okay, and this zygote develops into mycelium, and this develops fruiting bodies, and in these fruiting bodies, inside these fruiting bodies, so inside the fruiting bodies, meiosis occurs, and this finally results in the production of haploid spores. So it results in production of haploid spores. So haploid spores are released from these, okay, fruiting bodies. So this is how the sexual reproduction takes place in case of fungi. Now let us see the classes of fungi. So with this we complete the characters, general characters of kingdom fungi. So now we will study the classes of kingdom fungi. So that is the classification of kingdom fungi. Now we know that for classifying there must be a criteria. So without this criteria we cannot classify anything. So now on what basis they classified these fungi into various groups? So they considered one, morphology of mycelium. So they considered morphology of mycelium, it is one criteria. Then mode of spore formation. So how spores are produced. So that is another criteria that they have considered, right? And fruiting bodies. And on fruiting bodies. And this is the basis for classifying fungi into four classes. So we'll see, okay, those four classes, the main four classes. So they will be, okay, the four classes of fungi. We will see it, okay. So one, Phycomycetes. So Phycomycetes, then Ascomycetes, and then Basidiomycetes, and then Deuteromycetes. So these are the four groups or four classes of kingdom fungi. Now I will discuss each of these class individually. We will see the characters and even examples included under each of these class. Now let us see the first group of these fungi, Phycomycetes. Right. So the first character, so these are found in aquatic habitats. So they are found in aquatic habitats, right? So which means they are present in waters, and they are also present on decaying wood, also on decaying wood. So the wood that is, I mean, the plants when they fall off on the forest floor, they will be undergoing the process of decomposition, and even on these woods, we will see the presence of these phycomycetes, right? And these decaying wood, in case of moist and damp soils. So in moist and damp soils, so with the okay a water condition, so there will be a watery water present in the soil, okay. So those are called damp soils. So in those locations where the trees they fall off and they will be undergoing the process of decomposition, so we will find these phycomycetes growing on them. And okay, these phycomycetes will be living as obligate parasites on plants, okay. So they also live as obligate parasites on plants. So here obligate parasites, which mean those parasites that can live only as parasites. So if the host is not available, then the parasite will die. So in some cases, there are certain kinds of parasites where when host is available, then they will become a parasite. If host is not available, then they will live on their own. But in some cases, we see that the parasite will live only as parasite. If the host is available, then the parasite dies. So those are called obligate parasites. Are called obligate parasites. So here, uh, parasites that live only on living host. So I call them the obligate parasites. So these are okay obligate parasites on plants. Then coming to the next point, the mycelium. So in this case, we know the body of fungus is mycelium, and it consists of an interconnected network of hyphae. And in this case, the mycelium is aseptate. So mycelium is aseptate, and we know when there are no septae, so you can see here no septae, and because of that it gives a multinucleated condition. So this is called xenocytic condition. It looks like a multinucleated cytoplasm. So the mycelium is aseptate and xenocytic. So aseptate, which means no walls or no septa, and in this case xenocytic, a multinucleated cytoplasm, okay. So then coming to another point, so in this case asexual reproduction takes place by, so asexual reproduction, so it occurs by formation of zoospores. So these zoospores are motile, means they are capable of swimming in the waters. Okay, so in that case, they are that's why they are called zoospores. They are motile, and also by formation of aplanospores. So these aplanospores are non-motile. The aplanospores are non-motile. So asexual reproduction takes place by the formation of zoospores or by formation of aplanospores. Okay, and these spores are produced endogenously. So spores are produced endogenously. So what we mean by produced endogenously, so there will be a fruiting body, a structure. Okay, so say here this is the mycelium. Okay, so all interconnected hyphae. Some of these hyphae will be growing vertical, and then they will be having a small, okay, a ball-like structure, and this is what we call sporangium. Is called sporangium. Okay, and inside the sporangium, spore formation takes place. So these are all spores. So when spores are formed inside the sporangium, then such type of spores are called endogenously produced spores. So these are spores. Okay, so spores are produced endogenously inside a a sac. We see the formation of these spores. Such spores are called endogenously produced spores. Not in all fungi the spores will be produced in this way. Okay, so in another cases the spores will be produced exogenously, that we will see in the coming sessions or in coming classes. And coming to sexual mode of reproduction, okay, so in sexual mode of reproduction, so in sexual mode of reproduction, the fusion of gametes, so there will be fusion of gametes, and this fusion of gametes results in the formation of a structure called zygospore. Let's see how this zygospore is. Let's see. So you can see here this is the zygospore. So zygospore, and here I told you that fusion of gametes results in the formation of zygospore. Then definitely it is diploid. So zygospore is diploid, and once the conditions, so this zygospore will remain dormant during unfavorable conditions, and once the conditions become favorable, the zygospore germinates, and then we get a vertical hypa from this. So this is a vertical hypa, and on the top of this we have sporangium. Okay, so this is sporangium, and inside this sporangium spores are developed. So spores develop inside the sporangium. Later the sporangial wall breaks open, and then it releases the spores to outside, and they settle at favorable locations. And I mean, so luckily if they settle on the favorable locations, they germinate and produce the mycelium again. Okay, so this is how the sexual mode of reproduction takes place in case of phycomycetes. And one more point here. So here the fusion of gametes, so it may be isogammas and anisogammas or oogammas. So here coming to isogammas, the gametes are morphologically similar. So in this case the gametes are morphologically similar. Right, so when you see these both male and female gametes, we cannot say that which one is a male and which one is a female gamete. So but actually in this one will be a male gamete and one will be a female gamete. So when we cannot identify the gametes as male and female gametes, then the fusion of such gametes is the condition called isogamous. So the gametes are morphologically similar. And coming to anisogamous or oogamous, in this case the gametes are structurally and morphologically dissimilar. So they are structurally and morphologically dissimilar. So in this case one will be motile and that will be okay small. So we can see in this case say this is a smaller motile gamete, and usually the smaller motile gametes will be of male, and there will be larger non-motile gametes. So these larger non-motile gametes will be of okay female. So when those gametes which are morphologically dissimilar, when they okay fuse, then the condition is called anisogamous. And if the gametes that are morphologically similar, so these gametes are morphologically similar, so you cannot identify which one is male and which one is a female gamete. So in that case their fusion is called isogamous. Okay, so that's about characters of this class Phycomycetes. We'll see a few examples of this group Phycomycetes. So it includes mucor, then rhizopus. So this rhizopus is called bread mold. So the one which commonly grows on the bread, and it is called bread mold. And then albigo. So this is a parasitic fungi on mustard plant. So it's a parasitic fungi on mustard plant. So these are a few examples of this Phycomycetes. So with this I will end today's session. So in the next session we will see the remaining groups of kingdom fungi.